You were never just skin and thought. You were a vibration wrapped in memory, a spark echoing from the first breath the universe ever took. But somewhere along the way, someone, something, made you forget. Have you ever wondered why a simple sound makes your body tremble? Or why staring too long at the sky makes your mind spin with a strange dizziness? It isn't madness. It isn't coincidence. It is memory, pressing against the veil, reminding you that you are more than what you were taught to believe. What if your thoughts aren't yours at all, but whispers of ancestors, carried like sacred threads through your nervous system? What if the energy you call you is only one fragile note in a vast cosmic harmony, a song that has been playing since the first light burst into being, but you have been out of tune for centuries? For generations, humanity carried within it the secret of remembrance. Children once spoke of visions they could not have lived. Elders once guided the young through dreams of places their feet had never touched. The body, the spirit, the earth, all were once in dialogue. But as kingdoms rose and machines hummed, the silence grew. The voices faded. The secret was buried at the base of the skull, hidden where the body meets the infinite. And yet, the silence is not absolute. It leaks through in your chills, in your déjà vu, in the feeling that you have lived this moment before. The forgotten power still stirs, waiting, longing to awaken. This is not a lecture. This is not information. This is a doorway, a threshold carved into the temple of your own body. A secret point, just at the base of your skull, where flesh remembers what the mind has forgotten. Touch it with awareness, and something ancient stirs. Breathe into it, and the locked archives of your soul begin to loosen. It is a gate the ancients once guarded with rituals and prayers. And here, now, it waits for you. You were never meant to live blind, cut off from the rivers of memory that flow through your blood. You were meant to remember, not just your name, your story, your brief life, but the story behind all stories. You carry it still, and the trembling in your chest as you hear these words is proof. If your soul has begun to stir, if something ancient within you is waking as you listen, do not let it fall silent again. The path is fragile and the thread is thin, but if you follow it, it will lead you back to yourself. Follow the spine gospel. Not because you are curious, not because you want more information, but because deep down, beneath thought and time, you remember. The doorway has opened, and beyond it lies the forgotten truth. Long before the world was divided by borders, languages, and creeds, there was a shared silence, a silence so deep that even the stars seemed to lean closer listening. And in that silence, seers, sages, and wanderers spoke of a hidden place, a gateway resting quietly at the base of the skull. They described it as a door not made of wood or stone, but of breath, bone, and memory, a point where the human body brushes against the eternal. The Taoists of ancient China named it the Feng Fu, the Palace of Wind. For them, it was more than flesh. It was the entrance to a stream of life force that linked man to heaven. In their scrolls and whispered teachings, they described how the slightest touch, the gentlest awareness upon this spot, could ripple through the body like wind through reeds, carrying with it forgotten memories and ancestral echoes. Acupuncturists placed needles here not merely for health, but to open rivers of spirit. Breathing into this point, they believed, could dissolve illusions, lift veils, and restore the ancient song that lives beneath thought. Far to the west, under the desert sun, the Egyptians guarded their own mysteries. In the Book of Coming Forth by Day, what we now call the Book of the Dead, there are lines that hint at gates hidden in the flesh, veils that must be passed before the soul may travel freely. Priests of the Nile spoke of the Ka, the vital essence which lingered near the skull when death came, waiting for passage. In their temples, the human head was carved with serpent crowns and solar discs, symbols of awakening power rising at the very meeting of bone and spirit. The Hermetic philosophers, inheritors of Egyptian fire, later wrote, "The body is a temple, and in its walls are gates. He who finds them shall remember." They were not speaking in riddles, they were pointing to the same hidden place, the same sacred key. And in the East, the sages of India whispered of the Brahmarandra, the gateway of the gods. Though often associated with the crown, certain schools taught that the true passage begins lower, where the spine kisses the skull. Yogis sat in silence, breathing awareness into this sacred point, believing it loosened the knots of karma. Some claimed to see lives unspool before them, faces they had worn, places they had walked long before this body. To touch the Brahmarandra was to remember that the soul is a traveler, and that this lifetime is but one step in a journey with no end. Different lands, different tongues, different myths, and yet all pointed toward the same hidden truth, that the base of the skull is no mere joint of bone and muscle, but a passageway, a universal key, a secret that civilizations carried like fire, passing it hand to hand, age to age, always disguised, always protected. Why would Taoists, Egyptians, Hermetic sages, and yogis all converge upon the same mystery? Perhaps because they listened, not with ears but with memory. They remembered that we have been taught to forget, that the body is not a cage but a map, a sacred architecture pointing us back to the eternal. And now, as you listen, that map begins to glow again. The winds of Tao whisper through you, the chants of Egypt hum in your blood, the mantras of yogis tremble in your breath, all of them reminding you that the key was never lost. It was only sleeping. And the question arises, if the ancients knew, why did we forget? Who placed the veil? Who built the illusion that blinds us? The mirror begins to crack, and what lies beyond it is waiting to be seen. The ancients pointed again and again to the same place, the hidden key at the base of the skull. But somewhere along the winding road of time, the key was lost, or perhaps stolen. Humanity began to live behind veils, staring into mirrors that reflected not truth, but belief. We thought we saw ourselves clearly, yet it was only the mask. The deeper memory, the eternal thread, was buried beneath centuries of noise. In the modern age, the veil thickened. We built cities of steel and glass, monuments not to the soul, but to speed and consumption. We scroll through endless images, yet cannot see our own reflection. We flood our ears with noise, yet cannot hear the whisper of spirit. We measure time in deadlines and currencies, but not in breaths. Somewhere in the hum of machines and the glow of screens, the body's sacred language grew silent. The point at the base of the skull, once honored as a gateway, became forgotten bone, ignored and unseen. Science, too, played its part in the forgetting. The body was reduced to chemistry and mechanics, the brain to wires and sparks. This sacred point was renamed, dissected, catalogued, but never listened to. The physician of the past felt the pulse of energy. The physician of the present counts only beats and cells. We began to believe that what could not be measured could not be real. The wind of Tao, the Ka of Egypt, the Brahmarandra of India, all dismissed as superstition. And so the door was closed, not because it vanished, but because we stopped looking for it. Religion and culture tightened the veil further. Once the gods were within us, the temples were our own flesh, but organized power moved the sacred out of reach into the hands of intermediaries. Instead of saying, "The kingdom is within you," the message became, "The kingdom is only through us." The sacred point at the skull, a passage to direct memory of the divine, was buried beneath dogma, ritual, and fear. To remember yourself became dangerous. To seek the doorway in your own body became heresy. Yet illusions, no matter how strong, always crack. Even glass mirrors fracture when struck by silence. Mystics whispered from the margins. Poets tore holes in the veil with words. Rumi once said, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." And perhaps this forgetting, this wound of amnesia, is the very place where remembering now begins. For when the illusions fall, when the false lights dim, something ancient begins to stir. You feel it in the shiver down your spine, in the weight at the base of your skull, in the sudden déjà vu that makes no sense. These are not accidents, they are reminders. The mirror is cracking, and beyond it waits not madness, but memory. Science and mysticism have always circled each other like two halves of a forgotten language. One speaks in numbers, the other in symbols. One in equations, the other in myth. But both point toward the same truth. The body is not a machine of flesh. It is a vessel of resonance, and at the base of your skull lies not merely bone and tissue, but a tuning fork that hums with the memory of creation itself. Your brain is not a processor. It is a choir of frequencies. Every thought you hold, every memory you cling to, is vibration patterned into form. The ancient mystics called it the bridge of light, while modern neurologists describe the medulla and brainstem as a vital crossroads, the place where signals for breath, heartbeat, and consciousness flow. And just beneath this cluster, hidden like a secret door, lies the meeting point of body and eternity. The body itself is an electromagnetic field, alive with currents. The heart beats not only with blood, but with charge. The cells speak not only in chemistry, but in sparks. At the base of your skull, where the brain touches the spine, the vagus nerve spreads its roots. It regulates your breath, your digestion, even your mood. Yet, what ancient traditions whispered is that it also regulates memory. Not the kind stored in words, but the kind carried in your very soul. To them, this spot was a gate of remembrance, a place where the body could hear echoes older than itself. Modern physics offers a strange parallel. Some scientists speak of the quantum field, a sea of possibilities vibrating beyond time. Others describe morphic resonance, the idea that memory is not locked inside your neurons, but spread across fields of energy. When you stand in silence and feel the shiver at the base of your skull, perhaps you are not imagining. Perhaps you are tuning into a frequency that has been waiting for you all along. The forgotten songs of ancestors, the hidden memories of the universe itself. This is why so many traditions placed emphasis on this place. Taoists mapped the meridians of energy, noting how life force spiraled through the skull and spine. Yogis spoke of chakras, the crown and the throat, aligning to release forgotten knowledge. Egyptian priests wore sacred coils and crowns that pressed against this region, believing it opened the soul to the stars. And modern science, without knowing, confirmed it, identifying neural clusters, pineal rhythms, and brainwave harmonics that govern memory, sleep, and awareness. Two languages, one truth. Think of a tuning fork resting in silence. It makes no sound, no movement. But the moment another tuning fork hums nearby, it vibrates in perfect sympathy. This is resonance, and you too are a tuning fork. The point at the base of your skull is the bridge where your body resonates with something larger. When struck by silence, by breath, by intention, it awakens. And what it awakens is not just thought, but memory. The memory of who you were before you were born. The memory of the soul's journey across lifetimes. This is not superstition, it is spiritual science. The ancients encoded it in temples and scrolls. Modern science buries it in journals and terms, but the essence remains unchanged. The base of your skull is not simply anatomy, it is antenna. It is the place where energy becomes awareness, where vibration becomes memory. And if this is true, then the question arises, how did the ancients know? How did civilizations without microscopes, without machines, map what modern instruments are only now beginning to glimpse? The answer lies in the blueprint they left behind. A map not written on paper, but carved in stone, sung in chants, hidden in rituals. A map that points not outward, but inward. And it is to this ancient blueprint that we must now turn. Long before the age of machines and modern science, humanity lived in a world where memory was not locked in books or devices. It was carved into the body, sung through ritual, and woven into stone. The ancients did not see the skull as a cage for the brain, but as a temple, a sacred dome where the light of eternity entered. To them, the base of the skull was not a fragile hinge of bone, but a door, the place where the human being touched the infinite. The Egyptians, keepers of silence and shadow, encoded this mystery in every symbol. Look closely at their crowns, the Uraeus serpent rising from the forehead, mild and watchful. To most, it is a symbol of power, but to the initiate, it is the awakened current of memory, the rising energy at the skull's threshold. Their pyramids, too, were no mere tombs, each sharp peak pointed upward, mirroring the spine's ascent into the skull, the soul's attempt to pierce the heavens. And in their hieroglyphs you will find heads crowned with serpents, birds, and radiant circles, always emphasizing this same region. The message was clear. The skull was the ladder, the gate, the place where man remembered he was more than mortal. Across the east, the Taoists whispered of the mysterious pass, a hidden gate at the back of the head. They believed that by breathing into silence, energy would spiral upward, striking this point, and opening the soul to immortality. In India, yogic mystics spoke of Bindu, the drop of cosmic nectar said to reside at the crown, dripping downward to sustain life, and of Brahmarandra, the opening through which the soul departs at death. Their chants, their meditations, their controlled breaths, all were methods of vibrating the skull until it sang with forgotten memories. The human being was not just flesh, but frequency, and the base of the skull was the switch. Even in the half-remembered whispers of Atlantis, a civilization said to have drowned beneath its own brilliance, the skull was central. Legends speak of golden circlets and crystalline headbands designed to awaken memory and transmit thought. These were not ornaments but instruments, tuned to the resonance of the universe itself. And when Atlantis fell, its fragments scattered, the echoes of its knowledge finding new form in Egypt, India, and Taoist mountains. The memory survived, not in history books, but in rituals, symbols, and architecture. Everywhere the patterns repeat, in crowns of kings and halos of saints, in domes of temples rising like the skull of heaven, in chants that echo through stone halls, vibrating bone and marrow until the initiate trembled with remembrance. These are not accidents, they are blueprints. The ancients built with the body in mind, shaping stone to mirror the hidden temple within. Their monuments stand not only as external wonders, but as reminders. The greatest architecture is your own form. The true temple is your own skull. The ancients did not tell us to worship stone. They told us to become stone, silent, still, eternal, and to let the inner fire carve memory upon us as pyramids carve light upon the desert. The maps they left were never meant to guide us outward, but inward, to the gate, to the base of the skull, to the forgotten reservoir of memory that waits, even now, to be stirred awake. But a map, no matter how sacred, is only a guide. The true journey begins when you step into your own temple, close your eyes, and listen to the silence humming beneath your bones. And that is where the blueprint leads us. Not to stone pyramids or crumbling scrolls, but to the living temple of your own body. The maps were never out there. They were always written in your bones. Every temple, every pyramid, every chant was only a reminder, a shadow of something that was already living inside you. The source has never abandoned you. It waits at the edges of silence, at the stillness beneath your breath, at the soft hum that stirs at the base of your skull. Like rivers remembering the ocean, like sparks remembering the fire, you are being called back to where you began. The body is not a prison. It is the oldest temple the cosmos ever built. Your spine rises like a sacred pillar, each vertebra a step upward toward the heavens. At the top, the skull arches like a dome, the holy Chittagong. Amber, where light first enters, and memory lingers. Within you, the architecture of eternity has already been carved, and every inhale, every heartbeat, every subtle vibration is a candle flickering in that inner sanctuary. To breathe with awareness is not just to survive, it is to light the temple again, to let its walls sing with the echoes of forgotten hymns. The ancients knew this. They did not hand us rigid commandments, they left us invitations to sit in stillness, to breathe as though the air itself were sacred, to place attention at the back of the head, at that secret threshold, and listen, not for words, but for a resonance. For silence is not empty. It is full of memory, full of voices too subtle for noise. And when you lean into that silence, the gate begins to stir, just as it did for the mystics, the yogis, the seers who once walked the earth before the noise drowned them. Close your eyes and imagine. You are seated in a vast golden temple. The air trembles with the quiet rhythm of your own breath. With each inhale, light trickles in through unseen windows, filling the space around you. With each exhale, the shadows retreat. Now imagine a single point of light glowing at the base of your skull, small, steady, ancient. You don't have to force it, you don't have to name it. Simply notice it, like one notices the stars beginning to appear at dusk. Soon it glows brighter. Soon it is not just light, but a doorway. Behind it waits every forgotten song, every memory that has ever whispered through your blood. And as you breathe, the doorway opens. This is the reconnection. Not an achievement, not a conquest, not something to win. It is a homecoming. To rest in your own body and feel the pulse of eternity moving through you. To realize you are not a seeker looking for the source. You are the source, disguised as a seeker. The gate at the base of your skull does not awaken something foreign. It awakens what you have always been. And as you sit in this remembrance, the veil thins. The temple within hums again, and you understand you were never disconnected. You had only forgotten. Every flame must dim, every echo must soften, and every temple door must eventually close. Yet endings are never truly endings. They are veils, thin and shimmering, reminding us that silence does not mean absence. It means presence in another form. And so, as this journey returns to stillness, you are left not with answers, but with the soft vibration of remembrance, the kind that lingers long after the sound is gone. You were never searching for the doorway. You were the doorway. Every breath, every pulse, every tremor at the base of your skull has been carrying the key all along. What you thought was hidden was never lost. What you thought was far away was always humming beneath your skin. And in this realization, the greatest secret of all becomes clear. Forgetting was only part of the design, so that remembering could feel like awakening. If something inside you has stirred, if a veil has shifted even slightly, then know this: the path is already opening beneath your feet. Follow it, not as a seeker chasing shadows, but as one who remembers the fire within. Let the silence between your thoughts become your teacher. Let the stillness at the back of your mind become your guide. And when the echoes grow faint, return here, to the spine gospel, where the threads of memory are gently gathered, and the remembering continues. Now imagine this final scene. You step away from the temple, but you are not leaving it. Its flame walks with you, pulsing quietly at the base of your skull, glowing in your breath, shimmering in your blood. And long after this moment fades, the light remains, because the mind forgets, but the soul always remembers.